Vou iniciar esta sessão para já em português e depois passaremos novamente em inglês para que também os nossos convidados possam então, eles andam a treinar o seu português, mas para que eles possam participar de uma forma mais efetiva. O meu nome é Hugo Farinha, eu sou CEO da ROOX e desde já gostaria de vos agradecer imenso pela vossa presença e disponibilidade para fazer parte aqui deste evento para que vos combinamos, organizado em conjunto pela ROOX e pela ZERØ. Para enquadrar um bocadinho quem ainda não conhece a ROOX, nós somos uma consultora IT que faz agora em 2021 20 anos de vida e dedicamos-nos sobretudo à entrega de produtos e serviços tecnológicos que respondam às necessidades atuais do setor da advocacia. E este tema que vos trazemos aqui hoje e que pretendemos partilhar convosco assenta na modernização da gestão do mobile email e que acreditamos, através desta solução, ser feita de uma forma totalmente diferente e na qual depositamos uma confiança em que é, de momento, a ferramenta mais interessante da atualidade para o efeito da gestão de e-mail via mobile. E para vos enquadrar o porquê de hoje vos estarmos a apresentar esta solução, eu acho que não há forma melhor de o fazer do que partilhar convosco também aquilo que acreditamos que tem sido a evolução da adoção tecnológica no setor das sociedades de advogados nos últimos anos. E como é que isso tem sido feito? Vamos explorar aqui vários vetores para percebermos de onde vêm e para onde estão a caminhar nesta adoção tecnológica às sociedades. Primeiro vetor, a componente Production and Billing. Todas as sociedades que nós vemos desde então, e então se fizermos o espelho da atualidade, pelo menos têm obviamente um PMS, um Practice Management System, seja ele um Juris, seja ele um RGS, seja ele um SAP, mas tem efetivamente um software, uma solução que permite fazer esta gestão transversal dos seus clientes, dos seus dossiês e da sua atividade. Alguns já começam também a dar o salto para componentes de capturas de tempo inteligente, para componentes de pricing, numa perspectiva do que é a orçamentação e controle dos seus trabalhos futuros, mas este é um vetor muito forte e bastante presente em todas as sociedades. Algo que efetivamente cresceu também de forma massificada nos últimos tempos, e felizmente, é a gestão documental. Gestão documental, seja ela numa perspectiva do que é a gestão pura e dura de e-mail e documentos de forma centralizada, mas também tudo o que é a componente de produtividade em cima de documentos e ferramentas que aceleram esse processo e, muito importante, toda a parte de gestão de conhecimento, ou seja, de capitalizar, de elevar, de aproveitar esta base centralizada de informação já existente para podermos reutilizar e, efetivamente, de uma forma normalizada, tirar um maior usufruto desta informação que está constantemente a ser gerada pela nossa sociedade. Depois, começamos, seja por exigência dos clientes com que nos relacionamos, seja por uma exigência até de uma maior conformidade e necessidade de transparência de parte das nossas organizações, a preocupar-nos muito com segurança e conformidade. Segurança e conformidade, seja em processos de client intake, com tudo o que é a componente KYC e money laundering a ser verificado, seja numa perspectiva de conflict check entre a organização e os clientes que já têm, ou até de security policies muito específicas que são cruciais para garantir que a informação é apenas acedida por quem deve e não é quebrada nenhuma barreira. Isto associado também a uma necessidade de centralizar e normalizar cada vez mais que a informação nas sociedades nasce de uma forma, passa por determinados stakeholders definidos e termina de uma determinada forma. E para isso temos workflows e sistemas de BPM a garantir essa componente. Por fim, e porque as sociedades estão cada vez mais organizações geridas como empresas e com estruturas a pensar de forma bastante formada e formalizada para aquilo que é a necessidade de qualidade em todos os processos, nós temos uma componente que está a aparecer conforme a maturação das nossas sociedades a nível de business development, seja ela com CRMs, com ferramentas de automação documental, com ferramentas para verificar várias componentes sobre clientes, como a necessidade e possibilidade de ter informação em tempo real, na palma da mão, de gestão. Ou seja, não mais ter de esperar por relatórios com um pós-tratamento de dados enorme para conseguir saber como está a nossa sociedade e para poder pilotar a mesma. Não. recorrer sim à tecnologia de Business Intelligence, a dashboard de BIs, para podermos ter toda a informação da sociedade realmente que nos permita tomar decisões de forma breve e de forma eficaz. Agora, o que é interessante? É interessante para tomarmos uma noção de tudo isto, do peso que isto tem em números. E olhando ao top 30 de sociedades em Portugal e a uma amostra de 21 delas, eu partilho convosco o que é aqui o paradigma de 2018 para 2021, para que também vejam qual é que tem sido realmente a adoção efetiva deste tipo de soluções no mercado. Ou seja, nós temos que de 2018 para 2021, a nível do que é os PMS, juros, SAPs, etc., 100% delas já utilizavam e, obviamente, 100% continuam a utilizar. Não há outra forma, quero acreditar. A nível da gestão documental que eu partilho convosco, que era muito massificada, nós temos efetivamente que, em 2018, 71% das sociedades tinham, mas em 2021, 95% destas sociedades desta amostra já o têm. E falamos de uma gestão documental real, não apenas de um repositório ou arquivo documental qualquer. A nível de BI, saltamos de 5 para 1/3 já das sociedades a ter uma preocupação de gestão imediata. De tecnologia de captura inteligente de tempos, de apenas 5% das sociedades para já quase 1/3 igualmente estar muito preocupado com uma captura inteligente, eficiente e em conformidade destes tempos. Processos de KYC, muitas vezes impulsionados pela exigência do próprio cliente, mas também pela necessidade de normalização que as organizações têm, também de 5% para praticamente 1/4 das sociedades a preocuparem-se em 2021 com terem um KYC normalizado e dentro de uma determinada estrutura. E, por fim, num ritmo um bocadinho mais lento, onde 10% das sociedades tinham em 2018 e apenas 19% em 2021 está a começar a trabalhar, uma componente de CRM para realmente termos esta gestão de relação com o cliente também centralizada e tirarmos o máximo usufruto dessa informação. Agora, o que é que tudo isto tem a ver com aquilo que trazemos aqui hoje relativamente à gestão de e-mail? É que, apesar de haver uma adoção e uma evolução tecnológica constante daquilo que são as ferramentas para estas frentes todas que vos apresentei, há uma coisa que é um denominador comum em todas elas e no trabalho do dia-a-dia em 2021 do advogado, e vai continuar a ser em 22, 23, 24, 25, certamente, que é, e como diz uma expressão em inglês, quando something is still the king, que é o e-mail ainda é o rei. Ou seja, presente em todas estas frentes de trabalho, em todos os vários meios que existem para fazer input e output de informação, o e-mail efetivamente é o rei. E ainda por cima, cada vez mais em mobile. Portanto, se nós estamos preocupados, e bem, em garantir uma evolução tecnológica, uma transformação digital, para que todas as nossas frentes da sociedade estejam realmente suportadas por tecnologia que garante uma normalização e conformidade de tudo o que fazemos, mas se não tratamos bem aquele que é um dos principais meios de trabalho que ainda temos no dia-a-dia, que é o e-mail, e cada vez mais que é o mobile, então algo aqui vai começar a ficar para trás. Portanto, aquilo que vos trazemos hoje é o que acreditamos ser a melhor solução na atualidade para transformar esta tarefa de gerir grande parte do trabalho que temos de e-mail através de mobile, onde muitas vezes sentimos deficiências em como é que eu posso facilmente garantir a conformidade arquivando tudo o que faço em mobile. Como é que eu posso garantir que o que faço em mobile do e-mail não é tempo perdido, billable, que me vou esquecer realmente de registar? Como é que eu posso garantir que um e-mail que está a ser escrito através de um mobile phone ou através de um iPad vai realmente para quem é devido e eu não me engano e não envio para quem não devia? Todas estas questões são exploradas por esta solução, que nós acreditamos ser o próximo passo ideal, tendo em conta os hábitos de trabalho do dia-a-dia da nossa atual geração de advogados e a exigência de cada vez mais termos que estar prontos para, em qualquer momento e em qualquer lugar, fazermos aqui as nossas tarefas do dia-a-dia. Now, I'll start speak in English again. I welcome to this presentation Ryan and Chris. They are from ZERØ, and they are here today to present you, as I told you, a solution that we believe and truly trust, that is the main focus that people should have from now on to provide a more efficient, secure, compliant way to work through mobile in what consists of email management, okay? And before we start our presentation, I'll just pass firstly the word to Chris, who will present a brief poll that we would like to do with you, just to make sure that everyone is aware of how impactful the issue around mobile activity, time spent, and that kind of stuff really matters on our day-to-day operations, okay? Chris, now to you.
Thank you very much, Hugo, and thank you to everyone for joining us. We have just wanted to start you off with a couple of different questions, 4 questions in all. If you would have a quick look at those, just to get you thinking about how much time you would spend on mobile email activity. So we'll just give you a minute here. If you could just go through each of these 4 questions and give us a selection on each one or about how much time you devote to various email filing activities on email, on mobile, sorry.
I must say I'm really curious about the result.
Yes. Okay, we'll just give you another 30 seconds. Okay, just another 10 seconds there. And let's have a look at the results. So the time we spent, we think we spend on mobile email activity altogether, 3/4 between 1 and 3 hours. Interesting, and then a quarter of the participants more than 3 hours. Number 2, how much of that time is spent on actual client matters or billable activity? Less than 25% and between 25 and 75% an even split. How much time do you think you leak? This is important. How much time do you think you fail to capture on those billable mobile activities? Split between about half of less than 30 minutes, and then some people between 30 and 60, and some more than an hour. And finally, how much time do you think you or your significant others, that could mean your partner or your legal secretary or support staff, spend filing emails? And no one is less than 30 minutes. Everyone is more than 30, some more than 60 minutes. So interesting results there. I'll share that with everybody.
Okay, great. Yeah, a lot of time spent on that, definitely.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And now we'll hand it back to Hugo, and we'll introduce Ryan.
Yeah, now we have Ryan. Ryan, welcome, and thank you very much also for your time. As I told you, Ryan will present us everything around ZERØ, and I really believe that this could change everything for you in what consists of all the effort put into making everything on mobile activity really on your day-to-day operation in a compliant way and in an easy way, of course. So Ryan, now to you.
Okay, thanks, Hugo. Okay, well, let's get straight into it. We'll be spending about 10 minutes or so going through the mobile email client, and we're going to pick on a handful of use cases and go through a variety of use cases and workflows to help streamline and automate some of the email filing and time capture processes. So what you're looking at is my iOS screen. You'll notice a couple of things. I have iManage on my mobile device, and I have InTap Time on my mobile device. Those are examples of the kind of infrastructure that we integrate with. We integrate, of course, with NetDocuments as well, and any other timekeeping systems or time entry systems such as Adherent, Expert, Elite, Carpe Diem, iTimekeep, so on and so forth. For the purposes of the demo, though, this integration is an integration with iManage and iTimekeep. A couple of introductory remarks before we get started. The application itself doesn't require any back-end infrastructure. Everything you're going to see on my mobile device is on my mobile device. We integrate with iManage at REST API, and we integrate with Intap at SOAP API as well. So there's no requirement to have any back-end infrastructure or anything in the cloud. You'll no doubt draw your own views when we start the demonstration, which I will open up my mobile email client now. And you'll see that one of the design goals with our user experience and user interface has been to look like, have very similar characteristics and represent Apple Mail. So in terms of a change management or having that similar and familiar look and feel to Apple Mail was one of the key design principles that we introduced when building the application. So let's spend a few minutes orientating everyone around what's going on the screen. You'll see that this is my inbox. You'll see naturally that I have a search field at the top. You'll see some of these emails have already been filed. Those are represented by what we call global filing indicators. So Alice Kennedy, Bruce McMahon, so on and so forth have all already been filed into iManage. That global filing indicator is a global feature, meaning if I have filed this email on my mobile device, anyone and everyone else who is on this email will see a global filing indicator, not just on their mobile device, but also back at the desktop. And similarly, if someone has filed an email back at their desktop, that global filing indicator will also appear on the mobile device. So it's a global feature, and immediately that helps timekeepers and professionals not have to duplicate emails into the same filing location, or at least into the same workspace. At the very bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's an assistant feature. That's one of the most powerful features of the ZERØ application. What it does for users is that it automatically and passively files emails directly into iManage on the user's behalf, predictively. If I were to tap that screen, you'll see that the user has a layer and access to another layer of automation, which includes batch filing. It includes move to folder, and it also provides a short preview of the time report. We're going to come back and spend a couple of minutes on those features in a short while. But let's pick on a couple of use cases. Let us pick on Gerald Hill. So as soon as I open up the Gerald Hill email, you'll notice a couple of things on the screen. You'll see that there's a file button on the top right-hand side, and immediately above that, you'll see a timer has automatically started on behalf of the user. So that timer is capturing not just the amount of time that I'm spending interacting with this email, but it's also capturing the activity type, meaning am I reviewing this email, or am I responding to the email? Am I reading an attachment? Am I composing a new email? And I use those words specifically because when we get to the time card, you'll notice that there's a narrative that's already been created on behalf of the user. So we're removing the need to reconstruct time cards from nothing. We're removing the need to make manual micro decisions by way of which client did I do this piece of work for, what did I do, and how much time did I spend doing it. So all of these things that are happening on the screen are happening completely automatically without a user having to pause, be interrupted, and to reconstruct time cards. So that's the timer. That timer, by the way, also does pause. If I were to order a coffee or just get out of this email, you'll see that on 1 minute 20, the timer has paused. And if I open up my Starbucks app, you'll see that I'll order a Starbucks, so I might be making or taking a phone call, typing a text message. And when I get back into my email, you'll see that the timer recommences. So it's an intelligent timer that detects what the user is actually doing, or as importantly, not doing. if I were to not touch my phone for 30 seconds, the timer will also pause and correct itself when I recommence that piece of activity. Adjacent to the timer, you'll see that there's a client matter. That is a prediction. It's based and it's a derivative of the individual's previous email filing behavior. So where have they been filing emails into iManage or NetDocuments? And ZERØ creates a digital footprint and a social graph of the individual's previous filing behavior, including where other people have filed those emails. So if I were to file an email and Hugo now wanted to file an email related to this client matter, his predictions will be influenced by where I've been filing those emails, presuming that it's been filed into the correct location. So where do the predictions come from? In the first instance, the predictions are very personalized. They are a derivative of where I have been filing my emails. In the second instance, if I do not have a prediction or if I haven't been filing my emails very well, it'll then, in the second instance, look at the wider social graph and it'll look for predictions where other people have filed these emails if I don't have a prediction. Okay, so you'll see that I've been talking and you'll also notice that the timer has now paused. Okay, so that again just shows that there's no risk of a runaway timer. The moment that I touch my screen again, you'll notice that the timer recommences. Okay, so let me hit the reply button. I'll reply and just type in some test dummy data. Now, without interrupting my workflow, I'm going to tap on send on the top right hand side. I'll tap on send and file. These attributes now appear to the user, giving me an opportunity to make sure that it is the correct client, it is the correct matter. All of these attributes are inherited from iManage or NetDocuments so that you don't need to rekey or enter this information. I have the ability to mark as private, or I can also auto-file the conversation. Okay, so let me tap send and file. Before I do that, if I do need to change the client or change the matter, I can very easily do that by tapping on that particular text field. It gives me a suggestion, which is based on really a very high threshold probability. If that threshold is not reached, then there is no suggestion. But at least I then have the opportunity to select a different client or a different matter as part of my workflow. I'm satisfied with the client and the matter. I'm going to tap send and file. That email's been sent, it's been subsequently filed, and time has been allocated to that activity. And I'll show you where that activity or where that time rather lands in a few minutes. So that's use case number one. What is the other way of being able to file an email? Well, there's a short way of filing emails. Let's pick on Ahmed Hackett. Instead of me going into that email, if all that I want to do is file it, I can simply swipe left to right. Again, I'll have those attributes appear on the screen for me, and I can tap on file. If I want to auto-file this conversation, then I can certainly do that as well. I'm going to tap on file, and that email's been filed. Okay, you'll see that there's also a capital A in that filing indicator, which represents that it is now set to auto-file. What that means is that any correspondence with Ahmed Hackett under this conversation specifically is automatically going to be filed. So I don't have to keep thinking about having to file that email. So those are two ways of filing emails. There is a third way, and the third way is when we use the virtual AI assistant. So let me tap on the assistant feature, and I'm going to tap on batch filing. Batch filing is a layer of automation that allows me to grab a whole bunch of emails in my inbox. So ZERØ is integrating with iManage's calculating predictions, and it's turned the chaos of my inbox into some structure. So what am I looking at here? You'll see that I have a handful of things going on the screen. You'll see that this Poplar Ace Enterprise easement is a workspace. So that is my folder level workspace. And the emails that could be filed into that workspace are presented to me beneath that blue banner. As I scroll further up, you'll see that I then can immediately see all of my workspaces where there are predictions. Okay, I now have a choice as a user. I can select File All at the bottom of the screen, and if I tap that button, all 99 messages will get filed. Alternatively, I can be a little bit more selective with which emails I do want to file. And if I long press any one of these emails, you'll notice what happens. The screen dynamically shifts left to right, and I can be a little bit more selective with which of those emails I now want to file. If I tap on the radio button adjacent to the workspace, it'll group all of those emails for me. Okay, so I've selected 10 emails up here. I'm now going to tap on the file button on the bottom left-hand side, and you'll notice that all those emails are now being filed. Okay, it doesn't lock up your ability to use your iOS device. So iPhones and iPads, very similar user experience, but it does streamline and automate that whole process of email management and email filing, email governance for users. Now, if there are some emails here where the prediction is wrong, I have the ability to change that. Let's pick on Hans Stuber. Let's just imagine that these predictions aren't actually correct for whatever reason. I can swipe right, and I have the ability to change where any of these emails get filed now and in the future. So by doing this, I'm able to correct the algorithm immediately and in real time. So let's just imagine that the client is correct, but the matter is not. I have the ability to select the matter, and I can change which matter those emails get filed to. So I do have the final touch as a user based on my actions. Okay, so that's how we file emails en masse and in batch mode. You'll notice that I also have 3 different tabs here. I have the inbox and sent tab, I have the inbox tab, and I have the sent tab separately. Again, users have different behavioral attributes. They file their emails in a different way. They consume their emails in a different way. So in this regard, I have the ability to look at my emails that are in my inbox, or alternatively, look at the emails that are in my sent box and then file them accordingly. Okay. The next topic, let's talk about move to folder. Similar in design and similar in principle to batch filing, but if I select move to folder, you'll notice something else happens. You'll see that ZERØ has, again, calculated predictions based on my previous email filing or moving behavior, and all of these emails have now been structured based on my folders in Outlook, whether they are linked folders, whether they're personal folders, or even if they're just folders that are unlinked. You'll notice that it's discovered 75 messages in my inbox, and I can now, once again, I can either move them individually by simply swiping left to right, or I can be more selective by long pressing and then selecting those emails that I do want to move into these respective subfolders. And I can tap on move to, or if I'm confident that all of these emails can now be moved into their respective subfolders, I can simply tap on move all at the bottom of the screen, and all those emails have now been moved. I do have about 5 seconds or so to undo that in the event that I made an error in judgment. Okay, so that's how we automate and streamline email management in a very user-friendly way. The final topic in the automation in the virtual assistant is the time report. If I tap on time report, let me just generate some dummy data here. Okay, what are we looking at here? So this is the time and activity report that ZERØ automatically, passively, and contemporaneously captures. We've got the essential ingredients here for the construction of a time card. The blue banners represent the valid client matter. So this is after the client matter has been taken in and after a client matter has been created in the practice management system. We get this information from iManage or Net Documents. You can see that the date is there. The activity description is the result of how the user has interacted with their email. So in this example, I reviewed a message. It takes out the subject of the message, and it also takes out the sender or the recipient. If I read an attachment, you'll see that I also see that in the narrative too. So we're removing again, the friction involved with matter management, the friction involved with creating and reconstructing time cards. This is where the magic is. It's the duration. So it's the duration that starts becoming quite significant in your daily timekeeping hygiene. If you capture 3 or 4 additional billable units a day over the life cycle of the matter, it has a profound impact on profitability. If you can reduce the friction in regards to constructing time cards and do that automatically, passively, and contemporaneously, it has at the very least a 5 to 10% increase in your billable activity that you present to the client. It's not to say you're necessarily going to bill all of that activity, but at least you have the ability to discount your bill from another layer of time inventory or another layer of billable revenue on top of your bill, your pre-bill that you present to clients. So all of this information is there. Where does this information land? That's the important part. Well, it lands inside of your timekeeping system. So just for a second, bear with me. I'm going to open up my time card right over here. And you'll notice if I just go into day, you'll notice in a second or two, here's my captured time from the demonstration this morning. So here are the transactions. I now have the ability to grab those and I can then add them as a new entry. We're now looking at in-tap time. And it's at this point that I can review the transaction. You can see that the client has already been captured, the matter has already been captured, and you can see the narrative is already here. So what do I do with this information? Well, it's at this point that I can now edit the narrative. I can adjust the duration if I need to. I have the ability to assign phase, task, activity codes and make sure that it's compliant with any outside council guidelines or billing terms. So I'm going to release that transaction into the billing system, and there's my revenue right there, which would never have happened if I didn't have some easy, user-friendly way of automating that activity. One or two other final topics on ZERØ email. Let's pick on an example. Let's pick on Wendy Fahy. What I'm going to do here are two things. I'm going to attach a file from iManage to this email, and I'm also going to introduce a new recipient to the email. Okay, so let's hit the reply button. Of course, you'll notice you'll get used to what's going on the screen by now. So we have a timer that started. The client matter is there. If I need to change that client matter as part of my email workflow, I can simply do that by tapping that part of the screen. Okay, so when I do that, again, as I demonstrated earlier, you have the ability to override what client matter is being selected. Okay, so let's do a few things here. Let me attach a file from the document management system. You'll notice that I have access to my documents, my emails. We're now inside of the iManage application, okay? So let me grab the partner briefing. Okay, I have the ability to review the document to make sure that it's not upside down or it's not the wrong document. And I have the ability to attach the file either as a file or as an NRL link. So let me grab the NRL link. Okay, so there's my document. What I'm going to do next is introduce a new recipient or a new third party to this email exchange. So I'll type in W Fahy at, I'll type in wikileaks.pt. Now watch what happens in the CC field. you'll notice that the font color changes from blue to red. The reason it does that is because there's an anomaly. W. Flahy at wikileaks.pt is not in my contacts, or he or she is not a member of my organization. So there's a flag, a visual flag that alerts the user to say, hey, this person may be someone you don't want to send this email to. Often though, you do need to introduce outside counsel, expert witness, or new interested parties midway through the life cycle of a matter. So I'm going to continue with this workflow by tapping on send. And you'll notice warning, you're about to send this to that person. Am I sure that I want to continue? The answer is yes, because this is now an expert witness or outside counsel. I'm going to tap on send and file. And I'm also going to, in this example, auto file the conversation. Okay, so that email's been sent, subsequently filed, and I've also captured time. But very importantly, I've also protected my own professional and personal reputation from any damage by making sure that document went to the correct individual. Okay, what happens in the event that we lose Wi-Fi? So let me switch Wi-Fi off. And let me try and file a couple of emails. So I'll try and file this email. Okay, you'll see there's an error, and I'll try and file another one down here, another error, and I'll try and file this one too. Okay, error. So I don't have Wi-Fi switched on. So let me switch it back on. And without any user interaction, you'll see my hands are here. You'll see that these emails are now going to get filed automatically. So the moment that ZERØ detects a connection, it'll attempt to file that email on behalf of the user. If the email has already been filed by someone else as part of that process, then ZERØ will check whether that email has been filed before it files it on behalf of the user. So again, removing any risk of duplication of filed emails. Okay, the final thing that I do want to show is the following. You'll notice on the top left-hand side of the screen, I have a burger menu. I'm going to tap onto that. I'll tap onto the settings feature, and I'm going to go into my Sean Connery account, and I'm going to go into mailbox sorting. While we're here, I do have the ability to turn time tracking on or off if you have users that do not want to track time for email activity. That's a simple configuration item that can be deployed globally as a policy for the firm, or switched on as a policy for the firm, or we can provide a configuration file that allows users to make that decision themselves. Okay, back to the mailbox sorting. You'll see I have two options here. I have the sorting type by way of messages and senders, and primary and other. I'm going to show you what messages and senders looks like, because it's a really powerful feature. Okay, so you'll see that my inbox has now changed. I have messages, and you'll notice that I have senders. If I tap on senders, you'll see that ZERØ now surfaces my email to me in a chronological view. So in this example, I have Alice Kennedy at the top, and I have Wendy Fahey over there. If I want to look for an email in my inbox without having to scroll endlessly through my inbox, if I simply pick on Alice Kennedy, it'll surface all of Alice's emails without me having to look through and spend time searching for that one particular email that I'm looking for. If I want to compose now a new email to Alice, and if I simply tap on the compose button on the top right-hand side, watch what happens. Keep your eyes on the top left-hand side and on the far right-hand side. You'll see a client match has already been predicted, and you'll see a timer has already started. So I can immediately just start typing some test data for Alice, and time is already being captured without me having to, again, go through the manual friction and the manual effort of creating those time cards when I'm back at my desk. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the iPhone demonstration. We do have an iPad version as well. The user interface is slightly different. And I'll just very briefly show you what that looks like. So this is my iPad version. Once again, if I open up, I'm not sure if you can see that actually. Okay, there we go. If I open up my email client, you'll get a sense that there's obviously a slightly different user interface. So as an example, if I go into the assistant field over here, once again, and if I tap on batch filing, you'll notice that ZERØ is synchronizing with iManage, and it takes a couple of seconds on a different device, of course, because it's learning and creating those algorithms. Okay, I think this is a demo gremlin. Okay, there we go. AI is collecting data, it's calculating predictions. It's found 135 messages in this example. And it's at this point that I can then, make some choices on what I want to do with these emails, whether I want to file them individually or again, file them, collectively or in batch mode. Okay. So that brings the demonstration to an end, and we'd love to have any, questions and answers if you'd like.
We do actually have a question, Ryan. Which requirements should be accomplished to guarantee a good quality of suggestions in the email filing process?
So when you say requirements, typically it would need to be email that has been filed into a previous workspace in iManage, or emails that have been moved into certain folders. ZERØ learns very, very quickly. Essentially, how ZERØ calculates its predictions is that it goes back the previous 100 emails or the previous 100 days of email filing behavior. And it's on that basis that ZERØ calculates the predictions. So if there is a client and if there is a matter, then obviously that's the starting point. And then ZERØ looks at the social graph. So if it's myself, Hugo, and Chris working on a matter, then the calculations will be based on that. We do have the ability to provide a set of algorithms that can validate individuals' email filing behavior. And then if there's any tweaking that needs to happen just to make sure that those predictions are accurate, then we go through a validation process as part of the engagement.
Is there another one?
These predictions are based on email header fields like yes, they can be based on the CC fields, also the subject, as well as the content inside of the body of the email. So we have a natural language processing engine that is part of the algorithms. So it does look for any patterns or particular words that are in the subject field and the body of the email.
Please feel free to add more questions around the solution. So I don't know, Ryan, would you like to add some information and to comment, because I believe that's really valuable in terms of potential return of using a solution like this. Would you like to comment a business case that you recently made, and I may share the information over here? Give me just a second. So, and now back to PowerPoint again.
Okay.
You seeing my slide deck now?
No, I can see Teams. Now I can see a slide deck. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So generally, what users and law firm leaders would receive as part of the ZERØ application are what we call haptics. So ZERØ provides reports at a user and at a firm level to law firm leaders. And this is an example of a recent case study we did with a firm in Florida, in Miami. So you'll notice as you read the graph left to right, you'll see February, March, April, May, there was relatively low take-up of the application. That's part of the onboarding requirement. But if you start expanding the number of additional billable hours recovered over that period of I think it was 10 months or so, you'll notice that the additional revenue captured per timekeeper was 1.5 hours per month at a general blended billable rate of, in the US, it's $350 an hour. The number was significant enough for people to embrace a piece of technology where client and matter profitability increased for doing nothing. They're already interacting with email on their mobile devices. All that we needed to do was to change it from Apple Mail to ZERØ Mail, and they could immediately realize additional revenue for not even changing their behavior. Automatically, those transactions landed into their billing system, and it helps lawyers get to their billable targets. It helps lawyers provide some deeper insights to how much time they're actually spending interacting with client-related email on mobile devices. The other part of that coin is that it's productivity. So they're not spending an hour or 2 hours a week filing their emails on a Sunday or a Friday evening. So there was a significant amount of time, non-billable time saved per lawyer through simple automation, through using a virtual assistant that really does a lot of that filing and email management for you. So if you start looking at the numbers and the metrics, you can see that there's at least several thousand euros per lawyer saved and generated a year in additional revenue, but also in a savings and in productivity costs. So that's really what the data represents for a law firm.
And Ryan, we actually had, and apologies, I was actually kicked off the internet there for a second, and sorry if this is already answered. We have another Q&A. Is it possible to archive loose files like PDF and Word attachments that we receive in email into iManage document folders?
Yeah, it is. So you can file attachments into iManage as well as part of this workflow. So if there are any attachments on these emails, they get filed at the same time, and you can select which file they get which folder they get filed into if it's an attachment.
And just to confirm, I know the answer, but just to confirm, the behavior and the user experience of doing that is similar both in iPhone or iPad, right?
It is. It's identical. Yeah. Yeah.
So, more questions?
I'll keep my screen shared again, just so that people can get a very good look and feel. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this email to WikiLeaks wasn't successful. Yeah. So let me delete that. Yeah. Now just one or two other things if people are interested. I'm going to go into my settings again. You'll notice that I have the ability to, when I swipe left to right, I can file that email. Okay. But if users would rather move those emails, I can, again, just tap on that settings feature. I'll go to my swipe action in my general settings. And instead of filing when I swipe right, I'll rather select move to. So let's see what happens now. Let's pick on Alexa Kroner over here. So if I swipe left to right, Instead of it now being a file, it'll be a move, and the suggestion will be there too. Okay, so these are all of my linked folders in Outlook, so you can get a real sense of what that looks like. We will have folder-based search capabilities coming up in the second half of this year. But here's the suggestion here: City of Baton Rouge. So some folks just prefer to move, and others prefer to file. So this is the suggestion of the folder. This is the subfolder. It'll be News Corp. Okay, so users do have a little bit of control in how they interact with their mail. We don't want them to create or to learn new behaviors. We'd rather work within their existing, within their existing workflow.
Ryan, a new question. Is it or will it be possible to have ZERØ features in Outlook or other desktop mail clients?
It will actually, yes. So we do have the ability to provide for this kind of functionality in Outlook. And if there is interest there, then we can certainly set up a second webinar. We do coexist with EMM. There are things that EMM does, and there are things that ZERØ does, and they coexist in the same user interface within Outlook.
Okay. Meanwhile, and please go forth if you have any questions left, but meanwhile, I just would like also to share that with everyone that is participating in this session. I'll follow up sharing some additional information and documentation around the solution and the features that it has. And following the question that João made, we will also add some details around the desktop solution.
One quick little question for you, Ryan. Can we manage to archive an email being able to write the matter?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, quite literally the question is, can we manage to archive an email being able to write the matter? So Fernando, if you could possibly retype that.
I'm not sure, but maybe Fernando is questioning if we can type and search specifically typing for a matter and not just scrolling through matters available.
As in search for the matter up here? Yeah, sure. I can.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll type in News Corp. So we have a really powerful feature here in the search icon where you could then get access to anything that says News Corp here. So that's one way of searching for a matter. The other is if you were to go into senders, and if again you were to type in News Corp, it'll bring back all of those emails related to News Corporation.
But let me just add something, that is, when you're doing the action of filing and you are correcting a suggestion or from scratch defining the method, if you could search for the list of methods available.
Oh, okay. Yes, you can. So let's pick on Jane. Let's tap on file. Let's go to client or matter. So there's the suggestion, but let's pick on something else. Fiscus. So you have the ability to search for matters which are on your phone, but even if they're brand new matters and they haven't propagated yet, whatever's not on your phone, it'll search the iManage database as well. So I can't think of any examples here, but if I were to type in a search string or the client 3, it'll bring back those search results. I don't think I have a client 3, client 1, client 3, matter 2. Okay, Maybe that doesn't exist. But yeah, we have the ability to search for client matters across the iManage database, presuming, of course, you have access to that. So we also respect ethical walls, security policy manager. We inherit all of those rights that you have set up in iManage.
Ryan, a couple more questions. Can we separately archive emails and attachments?
Yes, you can. So if you have a desire to file an attachment, then you'd simply grab that attachment and then file it into a different location. So you'll see here the different folders that I have.
And can we file an email to multiple locations?
Yes, you can. Yeah. It'll involve those. So the answer is, can you file it to multiple locations on a mobile device? You can, but that'll involve two separate workflows. So what I mean by that specifically, let's take Jane Wenner as an example again here. When I tap on the file button, my configuration right now will predict a matter and a client. So I would file that, okay? If I wanted to file it into another location, I would then tap on file again, and then I would change the location to where that email was originally filed. So that's the way we file to more than one destination. In Outlook, you have the ability to file to multiple destinations within the same user interface. But on mobile, you need to go through that workflow twice.
We have another one.
Yes, we do. And if we receive a file or like a PDF or Word in a mobile, in an app like WhatsApp, can you archive that into iManage?
I'm afraid not. No. This is email only. We don't have an integration with WhatsApp or, I think what's the other one called? We don't have any integration with applications outside of email. Only because of security. WhatsApp's not a particularly secure application currently. One thing that may not have been overly clear is that if I do open up an attachment, that time is also being recorded. So bear with me. Okay, so here are a couple of attachments. You'll see the timer is going. But if I wanted to review this attachment and it's an exhibit, all of that time spent reviewing that attachment will be attributed to that client matter. So, as you'll see, the timer continues. And imagine reading this document on an iPad, all of that revenue is typically going to get lost. So as I go through these attachments, that time is being captured automatically.
Yeah.
Okay. One final thing, if there's just a desire, bottom left-hand side of the screen, if I tap that, you'll see that I have the ability to also filter my emails by flagged, filed, not filed, but also by importance. So this is an example of our natural language processing engine. If I tap on by importance, watch the back part of the screen. You'll see Alice is there at the top now, but when I tap on by importance over the last, let's say, 1 week, okay, let me do that again. By importance over the last 3 days. Okay, well, that's my most important email. If I had more data, then it would reorganize itself based on level of importance. I have the ability to sort by filed and not filed. So if I have a look at all of my filed emails over the last 1 week, okay, maybe there weren't a lot of emails there. Okay, let's go filed over the last 3 days. Okay, I think I have, okay, all my emails have been filed. The point that I'm trying to make here is that you have the ability to surface emails that are filed, not filed, and it'll help you you know, just generally manage your inbox a little bit better by keeping consistent with your filing processes.
And Ryan, another question: when during the integration of iManage and Intap, do we need to provide authentication to those systems during the ZERØ setup?
Yes, absolutely. So authentication is done typically through a mobile device management system or VPN or a reverse proxy. So there does need to be some form of authentication to those systems for users. We support SSO, modern authentication, SAML. So there would need to be an authentication to them.
Well, I don't know if everyone already clarified every question that they had. Just being careful about the time. We already exceeded the time, so I don't want to make anyone missing something else. And I really appreciate all the time invested in our session. As I told, I will follow up with everyone that was involved on this session, just to share some additional information and to clarify anything else that you could be interested in knowing about this. Chris and Ryan, thank you very much for your time, and how clear was this demonstration. And I'm always amazed by the ease of use of this, so that we really believe that this could be very useful daily for our attorneys in Portugal. And well, maybe we can arrange another new session just to explore in more detail also some of these features in the desktop side of it.
Absolutely. Great, Hugo. Thank you so much for organizing this, and I hope everyone is safe, healthy, and stay well. I appreciate your time.
Definitely.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Take care.